Thinking about offering reduced rate or sliding scale services? If you are, then you need to make sure that you have a clear process for how to do it, one that makes sense for your finances, and one that safeguards you from developing poor boundaries with clients. In today's episode, I'll be sharing strategies and tips for how to ethically offer reduced fee services so you can be accessible to more clients and continue to build your caseload in a way that will allow your practice to thrive. Hey, Christian therapist, are you craving a counseling career that aligns with your faith and actually supports your well being? Welcome to the Prosperous Christian Therapist Podcast. I'm Kimberly Van Hooser, Christian therapist, private practice owner, and business coach for mental health professionals like you. In this podcast, you'll get practical strategies and faith led guidance to help you build a thriving private practice, one that serves your clients well and makes an impact for the kingdom of God. So, what are you waiting for? Grab your notebook and join me for today's episode. Welcome back to the Prosperous Christian Therapist Podcast. I am your host, Kimberly Van Hooser. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist with a Christian counseling practice here in the state of Colorado. I'm also a business coach for mental health professionals who truly desire to have their business be founded and rooted in their faith, to be led by the Lord as they grow and develop their practice, and who desire to have a successful and sustainable private practice that really makes an impact on the clients that they serve. I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary of when I saw my very first client in my own private practice. I can hardly believe it's been 10 years, and I am just so blown away by how much God has done. It hasn't been easy. There have been times when I was very close to just throwing in the towel and closing my doors and just seeking something that felt safer or more stable, that felt easier. And I'm so thankful that I stayed with it, that I stayed in it, that I didn't give up, that I was listening to God's voice and sometimes his very obvious wide open door opportunities that had those not shown up, I probably would have given up. I started my therapy career when I was very young. I went to grad school straight out of undergrad. So when I graduated, I was 24 years old. And I believe I was 27 when I got licensed and launched my private practice. I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any formal business training when I was in school, but I knew that I felt called by God to be a therapist. And I really wanted my private practice to be rooted and founded in Him. I wanted it to be God led, and I wanted Him to be my business partner. That doesn't mean that I always had this divine supernatural plan for how to walk it out. I felt confused, scared, and lost a lot of the time. I felt very isolated. It's hard sometimes to be a Christian and a therapist, especially in today's day and age. And that's part of why I started this podcast and launched my coaching business. I want to be an encouragement, a light, a support to those of you who are in the same boat that I was in 10 years ago. I want you to know that you're not alone, and I want to give you strategies and tips that will help you hopefully accelerate building a faith led private practice faster than I was able to and without some of the confusion and the roadblocks. Still, you can trust that God is going to use your process, no matter how tumultuous it might feel sometimes, in order to develop you and your business into what it needs to be. So I am so grateful that you're here joining me and listening to my podcast. Quickly, I do want to remind you about my private practice coaching offer that I'm doing right now. Between now and the end of 2025, a 60-minute private coaching session with me is only $97. During your 60-minute coaching session, will really get you set up for private practice success. So I'll take a look at your practice as it stands now in several different areas that I believe are foundational to be successful. I'll help you clarify your vision, hone in on your ideal client, and develop processes that are really going to help you attract that client and make more money. You'll leave with more confidence and clarity and some actionable steps to take forward in order to bring your private practice to the next level. This offer is only good between now and the end of the year. I'm going to be significantly increasing my one-on-one coaching rates in January of 2026. So if you feel like you could benefit from some private practice coaching, make sure that you don't wait on this. So I'll leave my Calendly booking link in the description below, but make sure that you jump on this offer if this is something that is resonating with you. Let's move into the content of today's episode, which is all about how to ethically offer reduced fee or sliding scale services. A lot of private practice coaches will tell you to just set your fee and stick to it, that you're not ever allowed to offer something lower or to wiggle your rates. And in general, that is a good rule of thumb because I think way too often as therapists, we are willing to slash our rates. And that's usually not coming from a place of wisdom or Holy Spirit led direction. A lot of times that can be coming from a place of fear or desperation, of a desire to have as many clients as possible. And yes, I do think there's also that compassion element where we are wanting to help people and we feel called to work with those who are wanting to work with us, even if they can't afford it. I do believe that offering reduced fee and sliding scale services can be a really good and healthy thing, but you need to do it in a way that has some thought behind it, where you have some structure. Because if you're just randomly guessing or going with whatever a prospective client says on the phone that they can afford to pay, then your business could suffer and the therapy itself could suffer because it sets you up to have some poor boundaries with clients if you don't have a process in place. If you haven't listened to my previous episode on how to set an appropriate fee, I would really encourage you to go back and do so. It's going to give you some foundational tips and knowledge for what you need to be charging in order to have a private practice that can stay open, that's sustainable, that's not causing some financial stress on your end. Because if you're financially stressed as you're taking on these clients, it's actually going to impact the therapy. So, today I'm going to give you some tips and strategies, things to consider if you would like to offer reduced rate or sliding scale services to your clients. There are some pros and cons of offering a reduced rate. We'll start with the pros. For one, you make yourself accessible to clients who couldn't otherwise afford you. And I've taken on some reduced fee clients during my time in private practice, and some of them have been such a delight to work with where I don't even think about or consider the fact that they are not paying what my full fee clients are paying. So you might be blessed by working with clients that you would otherwise not be able to work with. And they're also going to be blessed by receiving great therapy at a reduced rate that they can afford. The other benefit is that it can help you grow your caseload faster. So if you're brand new and just starting out and you have a ton of empty time in your schedule or open time slots, then it's not a bad idea to accept a client who can fill a slot that you wouldn't otherwise have filled at all. So that's what I see as the pros. Let's talk about the cons or the risks of taking a reduced fee. In last week's podcast, I talk about how to identify what kind of income you need to take in on average every month or every week in order to make what you need to for the year. And so if you're offering a reduced rate to some of your clients, you need to make sure that you do the math and factor in that you can afford to do so. One of the risks of taking on sliding scale clients is that you end up giving away too many of your time slots to people who aren't paying your full fee. And then, even if you are to fill the remaining of your time slots with full fee clients, you might find that your practice is not financially sustainable. So, take some time, do some math. Don't just be reducing your fee based on what a client is asking for, and be careful about how many time slots you give away to reduce fee clients. Another risk is that it can lead to some confusion and unclear boundaries or expectations with your clients if you don't have a clear process. You'll have to consider things like how long are you going to offer this reduced rate to clients? What if their finances change for the good? How do you have those conversations of if you continue offering them a reduced rate? Sometimes clients can expect the continued reduced fee or develop a sense of entitlement that can really color the therapy. And also, there is some risk on the therapist end that they might develop some resentment or a tendency to treat that client differently. And an example might be that if you have something come up in your schedule, you're more likely to reschedule or cancel on your reduced fee client than someone who is full fee. So we just have to be really transparent with ourselves if we choose to take on reduced fee clients. Treat that client as if they were paying your full cash pay rate, not withholding certain time slots from your schedule with them unless that's part of the agreement that if you're offering a reduced rate that they see you at certain times of day. Sometimes therapists do that. I think it's important just to be really self-aware about what might come up and how you feel taking on this client for a reduced fee. So now that we talked about the pros and cons of offering a reduced fee, here are the things that you really need to consider once you've chosen to offer them. For one, you need to pay attention to what is driving you to offer a reduced fee or sliding scale service when a client is requesting it. Pay attention to those emotions. Is there any guilt that if you turn them away, that you're actually being selfish or mean or uncaring, unchristian? Are you taking them out of fear that you don't or won't have enough clients or enough finances? Are you just desperate to fill your caseload as quickly as possible? Are you only motivated by compassion, feeling this intense need to help others without taking time to question if you are called to help this person at this rate? Take time to examine your feelings and bring them before the Lord and pay attention to what He is calling you to do. I remember very vividly one time I had a prospective client call and she asked about my rate, and I told her, and she asked very briefly about if I offered a reduced fee or if I was able to do that. And I said, in general, no, I'm not able to. And she said, okay, thank you, and hung up the phone. And immediately after she hung up the phone, I felt the Holy Spirit nudge me and say, you need to call that person back and you need to offer them a reduced fee. So I prayed about the fee. I called her back and she came in. She was one of the best clients I've ever had. Sometimes the Holy Spirit will direct us to offer a significantly reduced rate, but I think it's just important that we're being Holy Spirit led versus just blindly saying yes to whoever calls and is requesting a reduced rate. If you're choosing to offer reduced fee or sliding scale services, you really need to have sat down and made sure that it makes financial sense for you and for your business. So take some time and figure out how many reduced fee clients would you be able to take every single week and still be able to leave room for full pay clients so you can make the income that you need to make. So let's just say you're available 15 hours a week and you need at least 12 of those slots to be filled by full pay clients in order to generate the right amount of income. That means you could take on 3 clients at a reduced rate, and that's not going to impede your finances. But once you've figured out how many reduced fee clients you feel like you can have on your caseload in a way that makes sense for you, just resist the temptation to increase that unless you're feeling like it's God directed or that there's wisdom for your business as well in doing so. Once you know how many clients you can have on your caseload at a reduced rate, you really need to have a clear process for how you select or approve those clients for a reduced fee. The method that I've found that works best is to have clients apply for a reduced fee. And generally speaking, I don't offer this to everyone who calls who says they can't pay my rate. But when I'm in a phone consultation and it feels like the client would be a really good fit, but I can tell that there is a challenge with the finances, I will ask them to complete a short application. This helps me see how motivated they are for therapy. I've had people ask me to do pro bono or very low fee work and then not agree to fill out the application. And I just see it as if I'm choosing to work with you at a reduced rate, I'm essentially taking a pay cut. If I'm willing to do that, I want to make sure that the person that I'm doing that for actually sees the value in the services that I'm offering. Because if they don't value it, they're not going to put in the work or the effort to get the results that they need. And then I'm left feeling frustrated, maybe even a little resentful because I'm working at a lower fee than what I usually charge. And this client's not putting in the work on their end. It also helps the client really sit down and assess what their needs are and what they're willing to, in a way, sacrifice. I really think therapy should have some sort of cost to the client when they can kind of feel the cost and recognize, hey, I am choosing to give up my weekly manicure so I can afford therapy. They're really going to value it more. And when we see value in something, we get more out of it. In the application, I ask the clients to explore other areas that could potentially be a funding source for their therapy. I ask them if they have checked with their insurance to see if they can receive out of network benefits, if they have an HSA or FSA account card they could utilize, if there's a family member who might not mind contributing to their therapy, or if their church covers counseling costs on some level for members of the congregation. I just want to make sure that they've explored all their options so that there is, in fact, a need for a reduced rate. Especially if you have limited slots on your caseload for a reduced rate, you want to make sure that it's going to people who actually will value it and have a need for it. You can kind of choose how you determine what rate you are going to charge people for reduced fee. I do have this as part of my application where I ask my clients how much they think they can afford every month for therapy. And I ask the question about every single month because then we can kind of determine, is that going to be doable? Does this person need weekly therapy, but they can only afford $100 a month? So, can I offer sessions at $25 every single week in order to support them therapeutically? Or if they are someone who could probably be sustainable with just 2 sessions a month, then I can determine, do I have room to offer therapy sessions at $50 twice a month? But if I ask, how much can you afford per session? Maybe they'll say, oh, $75, but they really in general need to have 4 sessions a month. Can they afford $300 a month in therapy? So it helps them kind of assess their budget. I think I also have a question on there about if they've sat down and looked at their budget and found ways to either trim or move things around so they can afford therapy. You can also choose just to have a flat rate that is your all around go to for reduced rate services. Let's say your full fee is 150 and maybe for those who have a financial need you offer sessions at 110 and the client can then determine is that something they can afford or not. It's also very important to have some sort of time frame or limit on the sessions that you're offering at a reduced fee. Not that you have to kick the client out of therapy once they've met that limit, but at least to have a conversation, to have a check in, to have them reapply for a sliding scale if that's something that they're still needing because otherwise you kind of run the risk of having a client who's come in at a low rate and let's just say a year from now you're recognizing you need to raise the fee, that it's not really making sense for you to keep offering a fee at that low rate. If you have these set check-in points, it's going to prevent that from happening. And then it also helps the client check in with themselves. Do I really need the therapy right now? Is this something that is still necessary for me? Am I making the most of my time in therapy? What I've done in the past is approve people for maybe 10 sessions or 3 months at a reduced rate, whichever one comes first. And then as we're approaching those 10 sessions or the 3 months, we're talking about whether or not the client feels equipped to let go of therapy. Or if it's something where they can kind of reassess their finances again. Do they still have that continued need for a reduced fee and continued support? And I'll have them reapply. So sometimes I still have room and it makes sense for me to continue to see them. And so I'll have them reapply and I'll approve them for another 10 sessions or 5 sessions or 3 months, depending on whatever I feel like is in the best interest of the client and my business. But having that set time or a time limit on how long you're offering services is going to protect you financially. And also, I really do think it benefits the client because it keeps them really present and aware with how they're utilizing their therapy. I also think it's really important to check in with yourself when you are thinking about bringing on a new client to your caseload at a reduced rate. Do you really want to work with this client? Is this someone that is a good fit for you? It's much easier to work with frustrating or challenging clients when you are getting paid a decent rate. So just be aware of your own desire to work with a client. And I would encourage you not to take someone on at a reduced rate if you're not really excited or sure about working with them. So let's go ahead and just summarize. When you are taking on reduced fee clients, first you need to sit down, do the math, see how many clients you can add to your caseload at a reduced rate in a way that makes financial sense for your business, where you're not putting your business in jeopardy and then determine how much are you going to charge your client. Are you just going to have a flat fee? Do you have your finances set up where anyone that you take on at a reduced rate is kind of just additional bonus so it doesn't matter how much they pay you? And then figure out how long you're going to offer that reduced rate for. And then lastly, how do you determine if this is a client that is good for you to work with at a reduced rate? If you'd like to see the application that I use for clients who are wanting a reduced rate or sliding scale services, I do have that available for purchase. Go ahead and check out the description of this episode, and I'll make sure I leave instructions for how to access that. I'm hoping this episode gave you some really good concrete things to think about and consider as you're determining if you should take on sliding scale clients and then how to do that in a way that is actually beneficial for you and the client rather than damaging or frustrating. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to me. Please join my Facebook group, Start and Grow Your Private Practice as a Christian Therapist. Go ahead and post your questions in the group and I'll make sure I answer those. If you're in need of a little bit more one on one support or clarification, take advantage of that $97 intro coaching session that I'm offering between now and the end of the year. It's only November 7th right now as I'm recording this, but I believe this episode is posting on November 17th. So this is a time sensitive offer. And my calendar will fill up quite a bit, especially I will be taking a little bit of time off around the holidays. So please reach out if you would like to book a coaching session. Obviously, I will still be available in the new year. It will just be at a higher cost. But thank you so much for being here today and listening to this episode. I'd love to hear from you. I'll leave my contact information in the description below. If you found value in today's episode, would you leave a written review on Apple Podcasts? It helps other faith-led clinicians like you find the show. And don't forget to join my free Facebook community, Start and Grow Your Private Practice as a Christian Therapist, where you'll join other clinicians for encouragement, accountability, and free tips and support. See you there.